the last video, we have already discussed about what is AI, ML, and deep learning, and what are all the steps involved in some machine learning process. All these things we have discussed. Now let's discuss about the types of machine learning algorithms. Okay, so the first type of machine learning algorithms are called as supervised learning algorithms. So in supervised learning algorithms, we'll be having data, and the data will be labeled data. So the data that we are having in supervised learning, that we call it as labeled data. So what is label data? In label data, we'll be having both input and also we'll be having output. Okay. So such kind of data where we are having both input and output, that we call it as labeled data. Okay. So let's think of some examples in case of supervised learning. Let's say we are having some input images of different animals. So let's say we are having images of cat and images of dog and images of some horse. So these are the three animal images that we are having. So we'll train the model initially with the images. We'll say that this is our input image and the corresponding label will be cat. Okay, and this is our input image and the corresponding label will be dog. So output we can also call it as label. Okay, so don't confuse with output or label if I'm using interchangeably. So if you're giving this as our input image and it is predicting the label as horse, or we are giving both input and output like this. Okay, so here input we are giving this particular input image and output we are giving it as horse. So like that, we train the model initially by giving both input and output, and finally, once the model got trained, then we'll evaluate or test the model by passing some input image. So let's say if this input image is getting or having cat, then this model should predict it as cat, right? So like that, once after training, it will work like that. So this is one image classification example. And also we have discussed price prediction, right? So based on some features like area or based number of bedrooms. So like that, we can have many features. So based on these features, we need to predict output. What is our output? Price will be our output, right? So like that, based on the input features, we should be predicting some output that is our price. So like that, like these kind of things, wherever there is some input and also there is some output, that kind of problems we or that kind of algorithms will come under supervised learning algorithms, where we try to handle the labeled data. Now let's move on to unsupervised learning. So in case of unsupervised learning, we'll not be having anything like this particular labeled data that we have discussed right now. So here we'll just be having input data, and we'll observe patterns within the input data that we are having, and we'll try to divide the input data into several clusters. So like C1, C2, like that we can divide it into some n number of clusters. So it means that all the uh, all the things that are present in this particular cluster C1 are of similar type. Okay. And similarly, all the things that are present in this particular C2 are similar. And all the things that are present in the CN are similar. Like that, we are having the input data, and that particular input data, in that particular input data, we'll observe some patterns, and which are very similar. All those points will cluster them into some C1. Okay. And which are all points which are very similar, we'll cluster them into C2. Like that, we'll can make how many of clusters as possible. So here we are taking it n as one example. So here there are n clusters. So here we are not having any kind of output data. We are just clustering our input. Okay. Such kind of algorithms will come under unsupervised learning algorithms. Okay. So unsupervised learning algorithms. And there is a third type, that is reinforcement learning algorithm. So in case of reinforcement learning, so we'll be having some robot or agent. So let's think this is our robot or agent that we are having. So for this robot or agent, what we'll be telling? We'll be telling all possible moves that it can make. So we'll be telling all possible moves that it can make. So after that, this robot will move in one possible direction. Let's say this is the robot that we are having, and we are telling you can move in these four directions. Then this particular robot, what it will do, it will randomly choose some path. So let's say it has chosen this path. So, and it will move over here. And after moving over here, what we'll do, we'll associate some profit or loss for that. So, so what is the objective of this particular robot? The objective of this is to maximize the profit. So initially, the robot might not be knowing that if I move in this direction, I'll get some loss or profit. But after making the move, it will get to understand that next time I should not make such move. Like that, the model will learn by itself, or the robot will learn by itself. And in future steps or in future, it will not be doing the such kind of mistakes again. So like that, it will learn by itself. So such kind of algorithms, we call it as reinforcement learning algorithms. So let's take some examples in each of these things. So if you're see, if you're seeing some reinforcement learning algorithms, let's say chess game. So let's say we are playing chess game with some AI. Initially, we'll just tell the AI or robot that these are all the possible moves you can make. Then robot will be making some silly moves initially. So and then it will lose the game. After playing with it for several times, it will understand that I should not make this particular move in this particular point of time. So like that, it will understand by itself and it will learn and it will become so intelligent that one day it will even beat humans. Okay. So such kind of chess games or even any video games, all these things will come under reinforcement learning. And when it comes to unsupervised learning, as we discussed here, we'll be having some input data and it is divided into clusters, right? So one best example for this is Google Photos. So in Google Photos, we'll be having several photos of ours. So let's say this is photo of myself, and there are several other photos of my friends, friend one, friend two, friend three, like that. Several friend photos are there. So what Google Photos will do? Google Photos will keep all of my photos in some a particular cluster or particular folder. So all these photos will be placed in folder one. Initially, all those will be jumbled. After that, the model will make sure that all these photos are placed in some particular folder. Okay. So like in this folder, I'll can find all the images that are in which I'm having my face. And similarly, in this folder, I can find all the photos of my friend one. Okay. So like that, we are there. It doesn't know that this is Aparoop or this is some other friend one and this is some other friend two, like that. The model doesn't know all these things. What does the model know? The model has observed some pattern that is face over here. So the model has observed similar faces and it is placing all the similar faced images in some same folder. So it is clustering based on faces. So such kind of clustering algorithms will come under unsupervised learning. Okay. And similarly, in case of this, in the case of supervised algorithms, there are two types. One is classification and the other one is regression. So there are two types of supervised learning algorithms. One is classification, the other type is regression. So in classification, the output is discrete. Okay. So in classification, the output is discrete, whereas in regression, the output is continuous. So here if you see, we are having input images and we are having some possible outputs that are cat, dog, and horse. So we are having clearly three outputs and all these three outputs are clearly distinguishable, or clearly we can say all these outputs are discrete, right? So this problem will come under classification. And similarly, when it comes to price, price can be anything, right? So there is no specific range, or even if you are having some range, let's say 10K to 10 crores or 10 lakhs to 10 crores is the price range. So within this range, even if you are able to write all possible outputs, even then, let's say you're writing on interval of 10 lakh 1, 10 lakh 2, like that, you're writing all possible outputs till 10 crores. Even then, it can happen that you'll be missing something like 10 lakhs point 5. So this price might not be there. So like that, you can't write all possible outputs for regression problems. Whereas in case of classification, you can write down how many ever it can be, but you can clearly write down all possible outputs. Okay. So that is the difference between this classification and regression. So I hope you guys have understood everything about these types of machine learning algorithms. And if you are having any kind of doubts, please comment down in the comment section and I'll be replying for those things. And that's it for this video. Thank you, everyone.